Welcome everybody to another wonderful African safari. This is a group of zebra and you're watching Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Wow everybody, just before I introduce myself, look at these racing zebra. How crazy is this? Look at them. I don't know what has spooked them, but they're racing across the road. How crazy was that? Well, welcome everybody. What an exciting start to another safari this afternoon. My name is Tayla and on camera this evening we've got Zander. Zander, give us a wave. There, he's got a thumbs up this afternoon. So, I have a suspicion as to where these zebra are going to go. There's a dam not too far from here, so why don't we head on over and go and wait for them. It's known as Red Dam, which I'm sure a few of you viewers are well familiar with, where there's usually a hippo in there. So while they're hiding in the thicket now, can we get another shot? Let's see, we might get some bums. Possibly. Because they've all stopped quite nicely. They just gave us a very quick glimpse. Maybe I'll get them if I go back a little bit more. It's very, very windy here this afternoon, everybody. But what a great way to start. Just go back a little bit more. I don't know, I think you're just going to see stripes disappearing into the thicket. And I'm hoping that they keep up this pace, because if they do, in absolute no time, they are going to be at that watering hole. How exciting is that? I'm pretty excited for that. So let's head towards that dam. I think that's going to be our best bet. Rightio. So remember, this is actually a live safari, everybody. If you'd like to get hold of us, you are welcome to send in any comments or any questions to either hashtag Safari Live if you are on Twitter, and then we also have an email option, so you can email us at questions@WildEarthTV. So Zander and I are obviously quite new to Safari Live, so it's always fun when between the two of us trying to navigate on the property. So I'm having to rely on GPS and on map this afternoon, and now we are looking for a road to the right, and hopefully that is the right road that we go on and we don't go driving on another piece of property that we shouldn't. Okay, this seems right. We'll go in here. Zoop. Over we go. So that dam I think is in that direction over there. So that's sort of where we're going to be heading. Right, everybody, while we try and find this dam, and hopefully with some zebras drinking from it in a little bit, I know that Jamie and David would love to say hello to you.
We would very much like to say hello to you, so a big thank you to Tayla for allowing us that opportunity. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon I have a dazzling Dave on camera with me, and welcome to the Sunset Safari on a scorching warm day on Juma Private Game Reserve. It really is, days like today, it's not hard to see just how bad the drought has really got in South Africa. The sun is blazing, the sky is white, and the wind is howling and just blowing dust everywhere. And really, I'm so desperate for it to rain. I cannot tell you, and I'm scared to actually say it out loud, but I'm going to try. And Brian, of course, has been predicting early rain. Dave, what was your date? 18th. What date is it now?
Today's 16th.
Yes, so Dave's birthday, the 18th of October, which is in 2 days' time, is when he has predicted rain, and I'm hoping that he's going to prove to be a complete... Oh, sorry. September. I barely know what day of the week it is, let alone month. Month is getting too difficult. Sorry. It's September, apparently. Who knew? Either way, it would be really nice if it rained. Just speaking of birthdays, just by the way, a quick mention to the fantastic gentleman who remains somewhat camera shy despite his many months working for Wild Earth. It is Connor's birthday today. Now, Connor works for our tech team. So he is what really, our tech team are really what keep the wheels turning, fighting off gremlins on a daily basis. Now, it is young Connor's birthday, so a very big happy birthday to Connor. I hope he's had a marvellous day. Everybody came round to Inga's for a little swim before drive on this hot afternoon. I hope that he's having a great time. Are you going to be cooperative, Mrs. Bateleur? Oh, there were 2 Steenbok in there. No, there was 1 Steenbok and 1 Duiker. They've both just dashed away at high speed. I think we took them very much by surprise. So there we go. Starting off our afternoon on the Sunset Safari with a beautiful female Bateleur. For our new viewers who happen to be jumping on board this safari for the first time, we know it is a female because of all of the raptors, it's probably the easiest to tell the difference with Bateleurs. And if you look carefully, she's all white underneath her wings with just this thinnest strip of black lining the edges. If she were a male, she would have half black and half white. There you go, Bateleur, named for the old French word for tightrope walker, or so the story goes, because of their peculiar way of flying, which is of course because of their lack of a tail. Not a lack of tail, they do have a tail, it's just incredibly short and barely visible. And she must be battling the winds up there, twisting and turning and soaring like a tightrope walker balancing on a tightrope. Definitely one of the most striking birds. It led to that an old local belief that the Bateleur is the embodiment of either the embodiment of a creator or the first animal that was ever created. And the Bateleur was there when the sun first rose, when the earth first began, and will be there when the sun finally sets on the last day for Earth. An interesting little tale, but you can see why with their beautiful plumage they attracted these incredibly powerful emotional beliefs. And for some bizarre reason, I don't know why I said this once, but if Steph were a bird, I feel like he'd be a Bateleur. I don't know if that makes any sense. Right, we're going to go on search of our lovely Queen Karula we had this morning on the sunrise drive. In the meantime, it seems as though Tayla has found something very large and rather brownish.
These buffalo are doing exactly what I would be doing this afternoon if I had the day off. You can see it's quite a big herd. A lot of them have actually already got up and left the water and have gone over the top of the dam, so you can't really see them too more, but I estimate probably about 50 buffalo here. It's a really lovely breeding herd. And we've also got a hippopotamus who was eyeing me out the other morning, as you can see over there. Hello, Hippo. And Terry the terrapin was also on this hippo's back, but got startled when we arrived. And there were a few vervet monkeys hanging around, but they seem to have moved off. Maybe they decide to pop up again. And I think this dam is going to be extremely productive this afternoon. And I can see the zebras actually coming in too. Can you see them just up on top of the crest?
Oh, there.
There they're on their way. Ah, that's fantastic. You'll see them just coming through the thicket a little bit further to the right. There they are. Look at that. Woohoo! Ah, I love it when things work out the way that I've said. Thank you, animals, for making me look good this afternoon. Normally it's the opposite. Normally I'll say something and then they change their minds and do the complete opposite. But like I said, it's extremely windy down here, so these animals have got a little bit of shelter though in this watering hole, which is quite nice. You can see it's quite steep. The banks are very, very steep. just providing a little bit of shelter. And I think that these buffalo were possibly resting here for most of the day. Now you can still see a few of them ruminating, and slowly but surely they're all going to get up and they're going to move off and try and find a little bit of grass to eat. But at least they were here. So it's amazing how you can have so many different animal species coming down to drink at one watering hole. Can you see that oxpecker in the water there? Look at this. Look at this oxpecker. No, come back. This one's camera shy, obviously. It was just in the water, cooling himself down, having a nice little bath. Even the birds on hot days like this get really, really warm and need to cool themselves down. Look at them now. They're cleaning their beaks on the buffalo's boss, having a good groom, fluffing their feathers. They're going to have to dry out. Look at them, even with their beaks open. So when they open their beaks like that, you can see that, you know that they're warm. But isn't that funny to see them all wet like that? Having a great day. I wish they would go into the water again. It was really lovely to see. Now they're preening all their feathers, seeing if they can get rid of any parasites, pull out any old feathers that are about to drop off. Great. They're just also taking a break from cleaning the buffalo and instead feeding themselves. We're going to very quickly head over to Jamie. Jamie's got a raptor for you, and not quite as small as the oxpeckers.
Look at this incredible eagle. Isn't it absolutely magnificent? It is a martial eagle, the largest of the eagle species. And when Dave and I came round the corner, it was on the ground. And it's only when they're on the ground or close to you that you really get a sense of just how incredibly massive they truly are. And this is one very hot martial eagle. The reason its beak is open like that is it's panting in the heat. And I wonder if it hadn't tried to catch something and just missed it on the ground, because I double checked as we came past after it flew away and I couldn't see anything. Oh, they are amazing. Absolutely enormous eagles, capable of taking down, they have been known to catch baby impala and steenbok. That's an antelope species, and they are capable of catching them. That is how massive these eagles truly are. And so incredibly beautiful with that defined chest, that transition from brown to white with the speckles. And look at the massive, massive size of that bird's feet, of its talons. Just to give you an idea of just how incredibly powerful they really are. Magic. It's one of my favorite eagle species, and I'm so chuffed we've got a view of it, because I haven't had many good martial eagle sightings while I've been here. They've been limited. Shame, you can see how hot it is. It's panting. Let's go over to Tayla, see what bird she has found.
So everybody, I don't know if you can see, there's a little kingfisher of some sort. Now we're going to play a quiz this afternoon just to make sure that you are watching and paying attention. I want to know what type of kingfisher is this. I'll give you a clue. It's relatively small. It's probably about the size of, if you make your hand into a fist, it's probably about that size. So if you'd like to let us know what your answer is, you're welcome to #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email us at questions@WildEarth.tv. So would you like another look of that? I think let's have one more look of that kingfisher, just in case you didn't get a good enough view. Maybe take a screen capture. If you are going to use the book, a little bit to the right. There we go, there it is there. Then taking a screen capture would maybe be a good idea, just so that you can refer back to it. You can see now as well, the buffalo are moving off. Look at that. See them? We're down to 2. And they are all moving up and over the top of the dam, and we are waiting for the zebras to come down. So I'm hoping that once these buffalo move out, the zebras are going to feel a little bit more comfortable. It's quite windy, so they are quite hesitant. All I can do is just see the stallion in the distance glaring over at us, waiting to come in. Maybe you can see there, you can see their tails swishing quite a bit. But it is not such a lovely herd of zebra coming through there. My goodness. Come on, zebbies. Come on down for us. Really interesting though with the zebra. I know we only got them racing across the road, which is quite exciting, but something else that's fascinating with them is that they live in harems. So you get one male with a group of females, and he is obviously in charge of the girls. He's quite bossy as well. When we first sighted them, he actually came through and he found his favorite mare, and he came over and gave her a good little rub on the head, and they groomed each other for a little bit, and then something spooked them and then they ran. And so when they're moving around, there's no sort of order, they just eat. But when they come to the water, that's when that male comes into the lead again, and he'll lead them down to the watering hole. Let's see if they're going to make the move. We've got slowly coming around. They're obviously going to come around to that spot where the buffalo are heading up and away from the water. I think that's quite a big game path, and I think it's a well-used game path that the animals particularly like to use. Sure, some really big buffalo here. It's so nice. While we wait for these zebra to come down, they are really testing our patience this afternoon, but I think it will definitely be worth it. We're going to hang around here, and I'm going to send you back over to Jamie to see if she's having any luck with finding Karula.
We are still with our incredible martial eagle. And it's difficult to get a sense of scale, of course. When you're looking at something in a tree, it's quite tricky to get an idea as to just how large it is when you're watching through the eyes of the camera. So, to give you a perspective, the maximum wingspan of a martial eagle is 2.6 meters. What does that equal in feet? That must be close to 8 feet. It might even be over 8 feet long. That's taller. That's wider than I am tall, considerably. By basically, 3 feet. It is absolutely massive, and at its heaviest, probably looking at around 6 or so kilograms, which is just over 12 pounds. This is a really seriously solid bird, and when you look at the crushing power of those talons, you can imagine the amount of damage that it can do. It's the largest eagle species in Africa, as far as I know. Oh, having a good scratch. Aren't you beautiful? I do hope you decide to come and nest somewhere here. That would be very convenient. I wonder what's wrong with it. It's got something in its beak. It stopped panting for the moment. I'd love to have known what it went for. These birds are ferocious predators of anything from scrub hares, as I said, small antelope, scrub hares, small rodents, snakes, even leguavarns. Imagine watching an eagle like this catch a monitor lizard. A leguavarn, by the way, is in the South African colloquial name for a monitor lizard. You can see the wind gusting and blowing up the crest at the top of its head every now and again. So wonderful. I'm tempted to try and sneak up on it now that we've had a good view. Hold on, it's going to go. No, it's just cleaning its bill. Obviously something got stuck. It's clearly bothering it. Yep, another good scratch, another good clean. A fierce, powerful look in its eyes. Okay, shall we try a sneak? Yes, let's try. There's a road that goes runs just behind that tree. It would also seriously help us with the light. It would give us an amazing position for the light, I think. Now let's give it a go. We've had a wonderful view of it. Let's try going around and looking at it from a different perspective. Please don't fly, Mr. Eagle or Mrs. Eagle. So while we play the stealth game, we're obviously having an exciting birding afternoon for the start of the sunset safari. Let's go and see if you can figure out what kingfisher Tayla has found.
So we're just having another look at this kingfisher again. Has anybody got any ideas yet as to which kingfisher it is? Any guesses? It actually just dove down into the water now, which was quite exciting. So it's obviously fishing. But let's have a quick look at our friend the hippopotamus again, because I think, let's give it a girl's name. Let's go. Teresa the terrapin is back. Hello, Teresa. I don't know if it's a male or female terrapin. It's quite hard to tell. But you can see the terrapin's quite happy that the hippo has settled down again. And it has crawled up onto the hippo's back. So this terrapin is just bathing itself in the sun now. Obviously they need to keep nice and warm in order for them to be quite active. And sometimes what you see, which is quite exciting, is you'll see the terrapins going underwater, and then the next minute you'll see something like a buffalo or hippo like jumping out and getting a bit of a big fright. And they'll also feed on the parasites, on the ticks that are on either the buffalo or the hippos when they are laying in the water. I've actually seen it with rhinos before, where a terrapin has grabbed onto something that obviously wasn't a tick, and it got a little bit of a fright and jumped and leaped out of the water. But it's not uncommon either to see a hippo with just completely covered in terrapins. I think the most terrapins I've managed to count before on a hippo were 50. Can you imagine 50 terrapins covering the back of a hippo? It was quite a sight. My friend the hippo is moving a little bit. Very hot, I think. I'm hoping that the hippo will decide to do a big roll and maybe even manage to do a complete rollover in the water to cool itself down. hiding his head completely now. So this is a male hippo, for those of you that have just joined us. And the reason that I can assume that it's a male hippo is it's because it's on its own. Normally the females will occupy a pond or some water, and there'll be more than one of them. It's unusual to just see one female hippo on its own, whereas the male hippos mark and defend territory. So they don't just have territories in the water, they have territories out on land too. And this is either going to be a very old hippo, but I don't think he looks very old. I don't think he has too many scars on him. I think he's in the prime of his life at the moment. This is one of the few watering holes he has. Look how that terrapin is balancing, legs out. I think that's what I look like when I put a bikini on and I suntan. Isn't that beautiful? Such a lovely scene. So we're going to head on back over to Jamie again, who's finally got a decent view of the Martial Eagle.
We've managed to sneak around and have a look at this Martial Eagle from a different perspective. You can see the feathers at the top of its head blowing up, revealing that crest. Now, while we were repositioning, whilst I'm not sure that it's necessarily what it was hunting, I can tell you that there is a creature somewhere here that is seriously unimpressed with the presence of the Martial Eagle. And that is a little group of Dwarf Mongoose. We can't see them from where we are at the moment, but I can hear them. And they go, well, actually you might not be able to hear them from here, but they're going... It's the most alarmed I think I've seen or heard a dwarf mongoose since the snake incident on one of our sunset safaris a couple of months ago, where they were being harassed by a spitting cobra or something similar. So they are exceptionally unimpressed with the presence of this incredible aerial predator. Their keen eyes have spotted him. I'd have thought, but I don't know whether or not this is the case, and I'm actually going to ask around and find out if anyone knows anything more. And perhaps we can ask Tayla as well, is whether or not marshals will come down and rest in the shade when it's a hot day like today. Because, you know, obviously on a really hot day in summer, when there's leaves on the trees, then they can go and shelter in the lower branches and shade themselves from the sun in that way. I was just wondering whether on a beating hot afternoon it might not have decided to go and settle down in the shade of the tree, making sure it had an escape route planned. Obviously that makes them a great deal more vulnerable. The fact that it was panting as heavily as it was when we first saw it definitely shows that at least temperature is affecting it in some way. Whoop. That'll be a combination of fecal matter, and then also, of course, because it's a bird. Oh, there it goes. I wonder if it's going to go back there. That's where we came from. Let's just sit for a moment and see whether or not it goes back down to the ground. Right, we've been talking about the massive size of this eagle, and it really truly is an incredible. And there's a very, very good question from Musical, who would like to know how it compares to the bald eagle of the North Americas. And of course, that's a question we very commonly get. I think there's an intrinsic comparison. And the answer is it's very, very similar in size. Now, I'm not entirely sure how much a bald eagle weighs, and I'm happy to hear from those of you who are in the know, who are more familiar with a bald eagle. I, of course, have never been to America. I would love to go, or to the Americas in general, and I would love to see. The bald eagle is definitely on my must-see list. I don't know exactly how big the bald eagle is in terms of weight. I think it is slightly smaller than the martial eagle, and I'm guessing that the wingspan is probably close, but maybe just a little bit smaller. You might find that the bald eagle's got a slightly longer tail. The martial eagle's got quite a short tail for a bird of this size. Shame it's panting again. Obviously, every flight is costing it. Also, I never thought I'd say this, but this martial eagle almost looks a little bit skinny. This bizarre thing to say, but it doesn't look very bulked out. But perhaps that's just the strange angle it's been at. So, those of you, please, who are more familiar with bald eagles and perhaps how much they weigh and compare in size to the martial eagle, please do send that information through on #SafariLive on Twitter, or email through to questions@WildEarth.tv. This is probably something we have asked of you before, and if it is, I apologize. Impossible to retain each and every number and measurement and of all of the animals of the world, but I would like some help on that. I suspect the martial is ever so slightly smaller. Now, Gail, you wanted to know what is the difference between eagles that have feathers all the way down their legs and this one. He does actually have feathers all the way down to his legs. So the mark of a true eagle species is, of course, the fully feathered legs, unlike snake eagles, goshawks, and other such things. It just so happens that the feathers around his legs are quite neat and compact. You could probably think of that as that narrowing as maybe a way of helping to not to obscure the feet when it's going in for a tight landing on some kind of prey item. It does, I promise, have feathers all the way down to its feet. It might not have been that easy to see, but I'll show you a picture in my book and it'll give you a slightly better idea. The only eagle species out here that does not have feathered legs is the fish eagle, which is why it's actually separately classified as a species separate or distinct, or genus distinct from the... I've lost my train of thought. Oh, the other eagles. I'm sorry. I went completely blank there. The Latin name, Palmatus bellicosus. There you go, there it is there. I would love to know what that means. Palmatus bellicosus. Bellicosus? You know, of course, I bought Brent that book of Latin bird names for his birthday, and ever since I've been fascinated, he's left it here. He's just gone on leave and he's left it, which means I get to raid it and have a look at the different names of different birds. Awesome. Lovely, lovely martial sighting. He hasn't gone back down to the ground. Perhaps whatever it was either a failed hunting attempt or a shading effort. Right, I'm going to continue on my search for the Queen of Juma, what I'm trying to say. Let's head back across to Tayla, who I think has got the right idea, staking out the waterhole.
So we're still waiting for the zebra to come down. However, we've got 2 more buffalo who have decided, or now they look like they have changed their mind again, that they came right to the top of the dam wall and looked down as if they were going to come through and have a drink. I did hear them trying to communicate with the rest of the buffalo who have now moved off completely, and I wonder if they said, you know, too late, you snooze, you lose, you're missing out on this drink, or you're going to get left at this watering hole. I think they're contemplating, should we go thirsty, or should we risk hanging around at this watering hole and getting caught by some lions. You can see the zebra haven't really moved at all. Now zebra, come on now, we've just told everybody that you are going to come down and drink some water. Okay, he's listening to me, the stallion over there. So please don't make me look silly. Please come down and give us a drink, and I really hope they do. Just because I know how much zebra like horses, they're in the same equus family, they absolutely love water. I think they'll come right in, seeing as it's a nice hot day in the bush. But the wind is gusting. I think it's the windiest day it's been since I've been here. And normally we say that on really windy days we don't see much, but how's this? It's like I said, it's the windiest day we've had so far, or I've had so far since I've been here. Yet we have probably gone a total of 1.5 kilometers away from Juma, and we have seen so many different animals already. How incredible is that? Come on, Zebi, I saw you take a step. Or maybe he was just shaking his legs, swatting some flies. Let's see, I'm just looking through there. Yes, we're talking about you. Oh. Maybe I can speak to animals. No, I meant come back, don't go away. I just actually said this to Xander. I said, you know what they could do? They could end up turning away and going away from the watering hole. Look at them all there. What's going on? The oxpeckers flew. Someone got upset. I think maybe it's got something to do with the wind. Maybe they're not 100% certain of coming down here, but now they all seem to be moving away from the water, which is so disappointing. Hopefully they come back a bit later. Zebras normally will drink about twice a day, so I'm hopeful that they will come back later. Hopefully the wind dies down. Oh, and well, seeing as the zebra don't want to be viewed, the terrapin's come back and is at a different position on the hippo now. This time we can get a terrapin bum shot. There we go. So Fran, Joanne and Alice, congratulations. You said that it is a Malachite Kingfisher for my bird quiz. Well done, you are indeed correct. I haven't seen a Malachite Kingfisher in ages, so it was really, really nice to see one of them rather than just seeing the old brown-hooded Kingfisher. So well done to the 3 of you. Congratulations, that was very well done. And those names are all very, very sounding more and more familiar, everybody. So I'm sure those are some of our regular viewers that managed to get this quiz right. So don't feel too bad if you weren't sure as to what bird that was. It takes a bit of time. Birding doesn't just happen overnight. It takes lots and lots of practice. Like I was saying this morning, I still pick up my bird book and I always have a look and I always double check just to make sure. But thank you, hippopotamus and terrapin, for behaving so well, unlike the zebra. We've actually got 2 other birds here. Eggsy, or Xander, sorry. We've all got nicknames for each other, and they always seem to slip out. But have a look at that bird over there. I'm not going to do a quiz on this one because this is too easy. This is a blacksmith lapwing, and there are 2 of them around, so I'm pretty sure it's male and female. They are monogamous, so they will actually mate for life. And maybe they even have a nest close by. But they are typically found around areas like this where there's a bit of water. They love to go wading through the water, pecking at little insects, surface insects, or any little flies that are maybe sitting in the mud, like that one is doing over there. Just making sure. Jason wants to know if the dirty water affects the animal's health. Jason, it's half and half. This is a difficult question, in the sense that yes, it does. If you have an animal that dies in a watering hole, it can indeed be very it sort of pollutes the water, obviously, and then it's not that great for the animals to drink. Also, when you have too many hippos in one small watering hole, with all the feces and the urine that they are depositing in this watering hole, this can obviously also cause serious pollution. And I've seen it before where too many hippos in a watering hole have actually killed off all the little fish and all the other little organisms that were living in there. So luckily though, for these animals, this watering hole doesn't look too bad. As murky and as muddy as it is, I don't think they mind coming down to have a drink at the moment. But you can see the buffalo did a great job of leaving some presents behind for the rest of the animals. But remember, the animals, though, Jason, they've also got very, very strong digestive systems, much stronger than what we have. So if I were to go and drink this water, I'd probably pick up all sorts of things like bilharzia, all sorts of other parasitic worms. It would not be good for us to drink this water. I think even if I had to boil it 100 times, I'd be quite reluctant to have a sip from here. I'd much rather go into one of the dry riverbeds and actually try and dig for water there and then give it a boil. At least it would have been filtered through the nice sand. It would also be nice and cold and refreshing. Maybe if I didn't have a fire, I'd probably even risk having a little drink from water that I've dug from a riverbed. I think we're going to hang around here for a little bit though. I'm not planning on leaving this watering hole. There is a monkey. Hang on, let me reposition everybody. I'm going to go stealth mode down here. I can get the handbrake off. You see the little vervet monkey? Here it is. We're having so much luck with the vervet monkeys. That looks like quite a big vervet monkey, so from here I'm going to be brave enough and say that that looks like a male. I love that white stripe that's almost across the top of their heads. It's quite funny. I wonder where the rest of the family are. Otherwise it isn't also uncommon to see just one male on his own. Let's see, he's seen us. He's looking at us, looking away. Not sure what to do. But earlier, this is the monkey that I was telling you about that was having a little drink. Are you going to come through and have another little sip of water? No, you're watching us carefully now. Oh, hello. You must be able to understand English, monkey. Yes, come here and have some water. Drink for us. There we go. Found a little pool. Not sort of on the main side of the water, just a little puddle. You can also see one of the acria butterflies fluttering around. And oh, it's actually quite interesting. You can see a few of the different butterflies and wasps and bees and flies and things around there. And notice how they're landing on the wet patch of mud. And that's actually called mud puddling. Oh, there we go. That's definitely a male. You can see by the bright blue testicles. That is the signature of the vervet monkey. But sorry, let me get back to just telling you quickly about what mud puddling is. I don't know, can you see them still there? You see they normally sit on elephant dung, or sometimes you'll see them, yes, you see them fluttering around the bottom left of your screen. And what they're doing is they're landing on that moist, whether it's mud in this case, sometimes they do it on fresh animal dung as well. and they are picking up all the different nutrients, so from the magnesium to the calcium to the sodium, and that's what they are feeding on when they do that. And that's often a good opportunity to take a photo of a butterfly, is when it is either sitting on a flower feeding on nectar, or if it is feeding on the different nutrients that you get in the mud or on the animal dung. But that was really nice to see. We're going to start seeing a lot more of that coming into the summer months too. Oh, our terrapin is moving. Just had a quick glance. Let's go back. Terrapin, you're repositioning. Did you see that little leg just swish out to the side there? Come on, do that again. That was quite funny. Even at this angle, you can see little bits of hair that are covering the hippo. Can you see that? If you look very, very closely. And the hippo is moving a little bit. Open your mouth. Open your mouth, hippo. We want to see your nice teeth. Now you're going under. And just do a big roll so you can roll that terrapin off your back too. We all need a good laugh this afternoon. Come on, open up. Look at those nostrils. Blowing the water around. Probably frustrated that we have come and disturbed this hippo. It was having a nice siesta when we first arrived, and then the buffalo started getting out, so I'm going to blame it on the buffalo. That's who disturbed the hippopotamus this afternoon. There we go. Go back to... Jamie's got one of my favorite animals, a warthog.
I'm learning more and more about Tayla every day. I didn't realize that the warthog was one of her favorite animals. She shares that in common with Tara, who was one of our directors when I first started working here. Tara always used to squeal in our ears whenever she saw warthogs. They're one of her absolutely favorite creatures. So there we go. Something Tayla has in common with Tara. I also love warthog. I don't think they're ugly at all. I think they're quite fascinating to look at as they snuffle about. Sure, they might not be a leopard, but they are beautiful in their own way. Okay, not beautiful, that's a bit of a stretch. They're not ugly. Either way, we've got a young male here. And the reason I know that, of course, is I've done a quick wart count on his face. He's got 4, not 2. And he's snuffling about. So he's young still, his tusks haven't fully grown. And what I've seen them doing now for the first time, well, not the first time, but interestingly enough, is actually shift around the dead wood to see if they can't get to anything that might have been sheltered and growing underneath it. We've seen elephants doing that quite frequently at the moment. And warthogs are an animal that really seem to be hard hit by the drought. These two don't look too bad. They're not in the worst condition I've seen. Some of the warthog around here are looking horribly skinny. These two look okay. Might be a young male and a female, his mother. Hard to tell at this point. His tusks have only just started to come through. You can see the tail swishing away, trying to get rid of the flies. The one thing the wind does, I must say, is it does keep the flies a little bit at bay. Yeah, if I had to guess, I'd say the one on the left is ooh, it's hard. I was about to say female, but I might actually be wrong. And they do live in little sounders. No, she's a she. She is definitely a she. So there we go, mom and sub-adult male offspring. They live in little sounders, in other words, collection of warthogs, little family groups. The boars are often solitary. They sometimes go and associate with females and their youngsters, just hang about with them, safety in numbers and all of that. And then the females will often join together with even an unrelated female, but often their daughter, their adult daughter, or perhaps a sister, and raise their little piglets together. Interestingly enough, somebody tells me, word on the street, or word on the bush, I suppose, I don't know if we can call it word on the street, that we've had our first sighting of brand new warthog piglets. Now, that's exceptionally early. to me. I would be only expecting little piglets in the next month or so. So I was very surprised to hear that at some point in the middle of the day today, a family of warthog made their way down to the Juma dam, including brand new little piglets. How wonderful is that? Little baby warthogs are the cutest things. I'm quite excited that that's a prospect we can start looking forward to. I hadn't even thought about the prospect of baby warthogs. The females are definitely going to have their work cut out for them. The warthogs have a breeding season, just like impala and wildebeest. It's not quite as strict as the impala birthing timing. Impala have quite a she might even be pregnant, you know, now that I've started chatting about that. Might be imagining it, but I don't think so. She does look quite round-bellied. It's all right, girl. Watching us closely, making sure that we're not up to any shenanigans. And the wind, of course, making all of our animals very, very nervous. It's okay, girl. Yes, it's all right. We're still here, but we don't mean any harm. And I think she's checking you out, Dave. Definitely. No. It does feel as though she's slowly creeping closer from bush to bush. And the thick, tufted fur at the top of her neck and then on the sides of her cheeks, a way of just looking large and intimidating. I saw the biggest warthog I think I've seen while I've been here on Cheetah Plains not too long ago. But Tayla, one of the things she remarked upon when she first started, when she did her interview drive, she said that our warthogs here in the northern Sabi Sand are bigger than those in the southern Sabi Sand, which I'm surprised by. I wouldn't have expected that, to be completely honest. I would have said the warthogs down south would be larger. It's a general trend. The rivers are down south, and therefore the general food quality is slightly better. So a fascinating little observation. That's why it's so wonderful to have so many different perspectives. I wonder if they know where Karula is. I lost her not far from where we are. I haven't seen any tracks coming out. The only thing that there is one possibility is because a whole elephant herd walked through, is that they might have stepped on top of her tracks. So perhaps that might be an explanation for where she's gone. But let's go and check. Our warthogs, I think, are content to stand in the shade for now. They're actually too hot to even feed right now. So let's go and do an investigation around Ingwe Alley and see whether or not we can't figure out exactly what's happened to Karula and where she's gone. I'm really hoping she makes a kill, or has made a kill. This morning on the sunrise safari, she was very determinedly hunting. And just before I lost sight of her, she was within a tail hair of catching a Duiker. And hello? I wonder if the Ellies have just found her for us. I don't think so. I think that was an Ellie on Ellie scream. Oh, well, let's go and investigate that as well. But yes, that Duiker this morning jinked just as Karula was about to catch it. It changed direction and got away. It's the luckiest Duiker in the world. Presumably, unless she's caught it since. No, Ellies, what's got you so cross? An important thing to remember today is that the elephants are going to be on edge. They're not going to be terribly happy with life. It's hot. Then you throw in the fact that they're hungry. They've had to walk further and further to find food. And it's windy. And you've got a recipe for slightly upset elephants. Especially if they've come through now and found Karula, although I'm not 100% sure that's why they were screaming. But we'll just do quite a gentle, tactical approach here. while we make our way around, Debbie in Vancouver, as always, lovely to have you on the Sunset Safari. He wanted to know whether or not the plural of warthogs was warthog or warthogs. I think it's warthogs. Plural of hogs. I don't know why the sentence is so complicated. I was thinking, no, I'm pretty sure it's warthogs. Unless I've lost my mind completely, I'm pretty sure it's warthogs. One warthog, many warthog. You see, it kind of sounds right either way. One warthog, many warthogs. What do you think, Dave? Warthog, warthogs? I think it's warthogs too. Where are these? I think these ellies are a little bit too far into this bush here. Let's try. Okie dokie. While I search for any sign of a queen and check out what these elephants are so upset about, let's head back across to the Hippo at Red Dam.
So while we've been sitting here at the dam, we haven't moved at all. And now, as I've started speaking, the Cape Glossy starlings have flown off, but never fear. We have got some buffalo weavers. Oh, that one is a drongo that's in there, but can you see the buffalo weaver that just chased the drongo away? It's very cheeky. There's so much water to go around, yet they are still all fighting over it. It's so nice to see so many different birds. It's actually really great to do birding now because it's so hot, so everybody's coming down for a drink. Hopefully we'll be able to see what all the other birds that I've been seeing. There was also a little bee eater. Where have you gone? Let's see if we can find the little bee eater. Where are you? I think the little bee eater maybe has flown off. Who else have we got? We've still got our kingfisher. Our kingfisher is still perched quite nicely. There it is. Hello. Just doing a little bit of fishing. Maybe there's some little cat. I think we need a bit of rain to encourage all the amphibious creatures to come out of hiding. So I'm not sure what this little one is going for. And there's also lots of other birds, lots of drongos. It's quite. So did you know that not all kingfishers actually fish? It's quite crazy considering that their name has the word fish in it. But there's quite a few different species of kingfishers that are insectivores. So that means that they just feed on insects. So something like a brown-hooded kingfisher, we normally don't see near water, and they're predominantly eating insects. However, I have seen them catching fish and catching frogs before, so they will. But something like this Malachite Kingfisher will only eat things in the water, particularly little fish and little frogs. And it's perched itself quite nicely, just waiting to see if any little fish come towards all those branches to perhaps look for some shade. Now, there are incredible birds out there that have all sorts of different fishing techniques, and I have to tell you about some of my favorite birds that fish. So one of my favorite ones, let me try and get you a photo. While are you having a quick look at that kingfisher, I'm going to find a photo of a little egret for you. Let's go egrets. Let me have a quick look for that. And they are quite amazing. Egret. There we go. Almost there, everybody. Got to be a little bit patient with me. Have a look at this. Can you see this one over here? Zoom right in. Now, what I want you to see is, can you see the yellow feet? See how black legs and then the yellow feet? Now, what these little egrets will do is they will wade along very shallow water, and then often you'll just see them standing still, and you'll see them pecking down. Now, I've been very fortunate enough to actually watch them in some very clear water, and what I noticed that they do is their black legs blend in really well. They bury their feet in the mud a little bit, or they sink in because of their body weight. They wiggle their toes like this. And it looks like little worms moving through the mud. So of course the fish are going to come on over and take a nibble. And then unfortunately they get in the direct firing line of the cattle egret's bill, and then spears into the water and will grab a fish or a frog or whatever is unfortunate enough. Now there's one more I want to show you. We've got to go to the herons. Maybe the herons are close by. Let me just double check here. Yes, herons are close by. Let's see if the one is here that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a black heron. There's the stalks. Right, I'm going to have to look at the back, unfortunately. H for heron. Okay, it's a little bit further ahead from where I was. Okay, have a look at this one. See that? The black, almost there we go, the black heron. You can actually see an image of what it's doing. See how it's formed an umbrella with its wings, tucks its head underneath, and on a very, very hot day, what happens is the fish are, like I've just said with the kingfisher, they come and they look for shade. And they come underneath and they think, oh, this is great, this is quite amazing to be sitting in the middle of the river or pond or wherever they are. And the fish think they're completely, at ease, relaxed, great, fine, they can cool down a little bit. And then the next minute, same thing, wah! Bill comes into the water and stabs him and grabs him. So it's quite amazing how all these different animal species have adapted and worked out their own special little fishing techniques. I think let's go back to our friends the Lapwings, seeing as we're doing a bit of birding. Mr. and Mrs. Blacksmith. There they are. Still wading through the water. Now remember everybody, we're live, so everything that you see is happening right now. How incredible is that? So if you'd like to interact with us, you're welcome to either hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can send us your questions to questions@WildEarthTV, and I look so forward to hearing you. Does anybody have a particular favorite bird? Any ones of the ones that we've been looking at now? The Malachite Kingfisher, the Lapwings, even the Cape Glossy Starlings that were here briefly, the Drongo, the Buffalo Weaver. Does anybody particularly like those birds? I'm quite fond of them all. I love anything with feathers. I think they're such interesting creatures. See them pecking away there. Now, it'll be quite funny to see when or if the zebras or impala or anything like that decide to come along, because they will often upset the blacksmith lapwings, because they may have a nest in the area somewhere. They normally will nest in big open areas or near water like this, and they obviously start screaming and shouting at all the animals because they're not particularly looking for eggs on the ground. And that's the problem when you make your nest on the ground, is that it is vulnerable to animals standing on it, especially if a herd of elephant and buffalo come through here. They're also not particularly looking where they're going, well, not for something that small. Look at that, going through, going all the little insects. They seem to be very, very happy lapwings. So, James, thank you for remembering my favorite bird. So James has just added a little comment. So James remembered that my favorite bird is a Narina trogon, and unfortunately they don't occur in this area. You have to go sort of further towards the Drakensberg Mountains where there are some forests to find them. So he wants to know, what is my favorite bird that you find in this area? That's a hard one. I'm going to choose a bird that I think a lot of people overlook. My favorite bird, I think, in this area is a Cape Glossy Starling. So it's a bright blue bird when those feathers hit the sun, with a lovely orange eye. And there were a few around earlier. I'm sure that they will come back and visit us. So I like the underrated Cape Glossy Starling. Just their entire behavior is quite funny, especially when they do come down to the water and drink. I think they always put on such a nice show for you. And they're usually quite relaxed around the vehicles too. They also become very used to people. So often when you are in areas or picnic areas or in the Kruger National Park somewhere at a rest stop, there's obviously a lot of people around, and they tend to leave quite a bit of food, and unfortunately sometimes the people feed the wild animals, even the birds, which I'm not a huge fan of doing. So they are usually the first ones there, waiting in anticipation and not afraid of us at all. It only takes them a few goes before they realize that we're not really going to do anything to them. Them and the hornbills are like that too. I remember always having problems with yellow-billed hornbills and crowned hornbills. In particular, crowned hornbills you don't see too often in this area, but they are around, and they always used to fly into the lodge at breakfast and eat all the fruit salad, and for some reason they seem to like cheese. They would always go for all the cheese platters, which was quite funny. So just as the monkeys are pests, or can be pests, so can the birds. I have to tell you a funny story. I don't know how funny you'll find it, but we have got a group, or a flock, of arrow-marked babblers that live at camp. They were sort of pecking on the glass, and I've seen them before where they actually go underneath the windows that are sort of slanted at an angle, sorry. They open this much and sort of at a downward facing, and they'll still fly underneath it and back inside. How crazy is that? And they get inside and they eat all the bread and all sorts of goodies. And it's like they understand me, because I stood there and I shouted, I said, "Hey!" And they all stopped and looked at me, and they sort of did like a territorial display. They all started tackling away and flapping their wings, and they weren't too happy with me, and then they flew off again. So they're quite funny. So if you leave the kitchen door open, sometimes the squirrels get in, but at the moment I've noticed all the arrow-marked babblers around. They're quite a pest, but they're also quite funny. So maybe I'm going to try and get some photos for everybody so I can show you the group of arrow-marked babblers that now live at camp. Let's see what our friend the hippo is doing. Hippopotamus, what are you up to? Blair wants to know if oxpeckers have any enemies. Of course they've got enemies, Blair. Like any of the birds that are smaller and do not eat meat, they will can fall victim to some of the raptors. So anything from something like a lizard buzzard to a dark chanting goshawk, any one of those birds of prey would go for another bird if there was that opportunity. So they've always got to keep their eyes out. And of course, when the oxpeckers are chicks and they are nesting in trees, they've got to be careful of the different types of monitor lizards, and particularly the rock monitor lizard, which is quite a big lizard, looks like a baby crocodile, as well as snakes will also go for the chicks as well as the eggs. So unfortunately, there are no animals out here that do not have enemies. Even something like a lion has an enemy. Can you believe it? And you'd think that they're supposedly the king of the cats, and surely they'd have nothing to fear. But they've got to worry about other lions tackling them. Oh, Hippo, I thought you were going to be the star of the show this afternoon. Come on, Hippo, give us a roll around. Give us a roll around, Hippo. I feel like that could be a good song. Trap wants to know if the drought is going to delay the arrival of the woodlands kingfisher. That's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't say that it's not going to happen, but last year the woodland kingfisher actually arrived early. They were arriving now in September already, so I've been listening out. I haven't heard anything yet, but we'll just have to wait and see. We didn't have very much rainfall either last year, so I think if we don't see them in the next 2 or 3 weeks, then I think yes, that possibly that the drought has indeed affected the arrivals of the woodlands kingfisher. But let's hope not. There's already the steppe buzzards already back. The steppe buzzards, sorry, oh my goodness, what is wrong with the WildEarthTV eagles? Not even right bird. The WildEarthTV eagles came back a little bit earlier. I was seeing them down in the southern sections of the Sabi Sands about 4 or 5 weeks ago already, which was quite early. So you see them coming back sort of middle of August, beginning of August is not, I suppose it's not too unusual. The weather's nice and hot here. And imagine if it's so hot here now, imagine what it's like in the northern African countries, which sometimes their temperatures get even higher than us. So that also could be possibly with the whole global warming happening at the moment, with the temperatures rising throughout the world, is that the birds are slightly changing their times as to when they are going to migrate. We are noticing, though, birds staying longer, some of them not even leaving anymore, making a permanent resident here in South Africa when they normally would move to northern African countries, or some of them are Palearctic migrants, which means that they'll move completely away from Africa. Let's go to our hippo again. So Pam and Liz say that the kingfishers are their favorite birds. Well then, just because you said that, Zander, let's have a look at our kingfisher then. Just so some of our viewers can have a quick look once again. He's still sitting there. And I don't blame you. My favorite is a half-collared kingfisher. And they are special birds. I don't know if you actually see them up here. I've never seen a half-collared kingfisher up in this area. But down in the Eastern Cape, we're prolific. We saw them all the time. We were actually very, very fortunate to see so many of them. I mean, we actually saw quite a few different species. We saw the half-collared, we saw the pygmy, we saw the malachite, we saw the giant, we saw the pied. Right, we're going to head over to Jamie and see what she's up to, and I see that the zebras are hopefully going to come down in the next 10 minutes or so. I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Wow, we've just found crisp, beautifully clear leopard tracks heading through into the drainage line, not far at all from where I found, or where we found Karula, or left Karula this morning. So she's here somewhere, probably resting up in the shade, perhaps enjoying a little bit of time in the Tambweti thickets. I've got a horrible feeling she's put herself in the most impenetrable spot imaginable. There's a big Tambweti thicket just through here, and if she has gone to lie down in the shade, I have a horrible feeling that that's where she's gone, in which case it will be almost impossible for us to get to her. Might be worth leaving the area, going on a search for other things for the moment, and then returning as it starts to get a little bit cooler. Glunk! This is, after all, the place where I got my last flat tire. Now, the elephants that were trumpeting at each other, they are in the middle of a very dense block, so we are not off-roading for elephants at the moment, nor are we off-roading for things like buffalo, only for cats and wild dogs. And the reason behind that, I'm following my old tracks from when I was off-roading for Karula this morning. I'm not doing anything naughty. The reason behind that is we're just trying to reduce the impact that we have on the area at the moment, because the drought is so incredibly bad. And the effect's so incredibly pronounced. Whoopsies, thorns. We just avoid that for now. Okay. At the moment, all I've seen here on Ingwe Alley... Oh, where are you going? Rusty decided to take itself off on a walk. Is a red-billed hornbill. Just sifting through... Not even old elephant dung, just sifting through the soil, looking for any insects that it could catch. Now, just talking about birds and catching insects, so the most fascinating sighting this morning, and I meant to do more research on it, but I ran out of time. We had an African hippo with a grasshopper that it looked like was trying to figure out how to eat it, and then just dumped it in a leadwood stump. And it made me wonder whether or not they store food. Or perhaps it just wasn't interested. The grasshopper might have been slightly too big for it, and it couldn't break it up enough. It doesn't have quite the robust bill of something like this red-billed hornbill that runs like a little dinosaur along the road. It was a very interesting sighting, and I want to do some more research on it and find out if they store food. There are certain birds that do store food. Certain of the shrikes strike species, for example. Forgive me, it's a hot day and I have my giant water bottle. Whew. Okay. Alrighty. Let's go see if we can't. Got one last place I want to check for Karula before we go back, waiting for those elephants to make an appearance on quarantine, because that's where they are heading to. Might be a really nice afternoon spent with elephants in a beautiful open spot. Afternoon station. Sorry, I was off my vehicle. There's Nkonzo for Karula, going still east along that drainage where we left her at Ingwe Alley towards Twin Dams Road. She's just here. She's got to be just here somewhere. I don't think she went out. Okay, copy. Thanks, Andrew. I just want to make sure I haven't missed her crossing towards the Mulwati somewhere. Now this morning, we had to change a flat tire, but we know that she didn't cross towards a little bit further to the east of us, which was the general direction that she was going in. And the reason that I know that with such certainty is a troop of monkeys not far away from where she would have popped out, and they would have spotted her. Monkeys have incredibly sharp eyesight, and they absolutely would have picked up on her movement through that area. One last try, one last circuit, and then we'll go back and catch up with those elephants. They also sound distinctly disgruntled, so having a nice open sighting of them will probably be the best way to go about it. Okie dokie. Let's keep our eyes peeled. On a hot afternoon like this afternoon, there is a chance, it's most likely, that she's going to be lying down completely flat, panting, hopefully with a full belly, but she was looking very hungry this morning. But leopards are funny that way. Sometimes they move at the hottest time of the day, sometimes they even hunt at the time of the day. Might be worth doing a river cruise. Haven't done one of those in a while, and the Mulwati is one of her favourite spots, so if we missed her tracks, it's a good place to start our search. Now there is something about leopards and the connection that we have with them as human beings, and I don't know what it is exactly, but whenever you get new guests, one of the things that they immediately want to see is a leopard. And I don't know if it's the elusiveness, the elusive nature of the animal. There's something that intrinsically attracts human beings to leopards. And Oren, you wanted to know what my favorite thing is about leopards. Sure. That's a really, really difficult question, Oren. A really difficult question. I'm going to say, I think it's I'm going to say their self-contained nature. They're very comfortable in their own company. I think that's the little Duiker. Can you believe it? The luckiest Duiker in all the world. Well done, Mr. Duiker. You did well. Very well. I'm pretty sure that was the Duiker. We're right here, and it was a male that she was hunting this morning. One very fortunate Duiker. My favorite thing about leopards, I think, is they're solitary by nature, and they've got a very self-possessed air about them. Like, they're in control of everything. They're in control of their body. They're in control of what's happening around them. Constantly alert. They're so self-reliant on their reflexes and their speed and their strength. And I think that is probably my favorite thing about leopards, but it's a really difficult question. I think my other favorite thing is that they have serious characters. Lions do as well, but it's less I don't know if it's just because they're social cats. For me, it's less noticeable than it is with leopards. There's a very clear distinction between Karula, Say, and Shadow, or Shadow and Tundi, twin sisters, or from what I've heard from Kunuma and Quarantine. So Aaron's raised a very good question. I'm going to flip it back to our viewers across the world and say, what is your favorite thing about leopards? What do you like the most about leopards? Is it their spots? So maybe, I don't know, is it their spots? Is it their... What is it that attracts us so much to leopard? What's your favorite thing about them? And I would love to hear that on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, you know the drill, or questions at WildEarthTV. What's your favorite thing about a leopard, Dave? It's a hard question, isn't it? It's a very hard question. Okay, there we've got a really nice answer from Dave. That's actually a beautiful answer. He quite likes the white tips on their tails. Perfect. That's a very good point. Is one of their most noticeable features. I was talking this morning about Karula's tail, tick-tocking, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. No, surely not. Now, the one thing that I was quite careful of, because when I went for a walk earlier, I noticed there were a lot of buffalo tracks, and we have no idea where that terribly injured buffalo is that Tayla's been trying to follow up on. We've got no idea where he's gone. And an injured buffalo like that is unbelievably dangerous to people on foot, especially on a windy day like today. I just wasn't really willing to walk through the dense vegetation. I mean, I didn't see any droplets of blood or anything. It could have just been a normal buffalo. But either way, it was enough to shorten my walk a little bit. And we had a question from Callie, which was whether or not Karula would hunt or go after that injured buffalo. No, she wouldn't try and kill it. That would be it's exceptionally unusual for leopards to hunt buffalo, and it's only really buffalo calves. And especially for a female leopard who's not quite strong enough to take down, there's no way she could take down a buffalo. But if that buffalo died, she would not be above scavenging from it. So if that buffalo were to succumb to its injuries, then absolutely she would go for it and scavenge. We've seen Karula scavenging off dead buffalo before. Right, we're going to go on a river cruise. While we go on a river cruise, we're going to just chat quickly about the very sad situation, because I know that it's something that a lot of you are talking about. I've only just found out as well about the Styx cub and the fact that very, very sadly they have lost another one. So that is now the 5th Styx, there's only 5 remaining. It's the 3rd Styx cub that has succumbed due to that mange infection. And it's absolutely tragic. And yet, in a way, when I last saw them, which was also with Dave, it was with Dave on Cheetah Plains, I looked at the littlest one, and I don't know if it's the littlest one, I don't know which one has died. Last time I saw them, there were 7. But I looked at that little one and I just thought, you poor thing, you are suffering so much. In a way, it's almost, it's very, very sad, but in a way, for me, it's almost a relief that they're not suffering anymore. Those poor little things, because that one cub was blindly stumbling. He walked straight under the wheel of the car. I was shocked. I was horrified, because I'd been on leave with the condition that those poor cubs were in. An utterly, utterly tragic situation. It's not nice watching animals suffer like they have been. And I know it sounds terrible, and probably some of you are going to get very cross with me. Not that I've ever wished it upon them, but I'm almost glad that the suffering is over for some of those little ones. Such a short and just such bad misfortune. Short, innocent little lives. Nature can be very, very cruel at times. The only thing we can hope now is that the Styx females, I know that Shanae saw them take down a buffalo yesterday, that the Styx females keep their little ones as packed full of nutrients as they can, and that the others will recover. I hope so. And the females as well, those poor things. You're not a leopard. You're a Duiker, I think. Straight ahead of me. You'll see him if you keep going. There we go. There's our little Duiker. On to slightly happier things and slightly happier questions. I was looking for a leopard. I found a Duiker instead. Jeffrey in Texas was saying his favorite thing about leopards is their attitude and how they just know they are so cool. That's similar to what I was saying about that self-possessed air that they have about them. Everything is just so in control, and you're right, they are cool. Leopards are cool. Smile says cubs. Her favorite thing about leopards is leopard cubs. Fair enough. Can't argue with that. I mean, tiny little bundles of spots, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so determined to spend as much time as possible searching for Karula. I want to see her cubs again properly. This is one of her favorite spots. I once drove around the corner and she was right here. It was when there was more vegetation, of course, so I couldn't see. And she was lying here on the floor here. I got such a fright. I was really hoping that might be the case again, but unfortunately not. Oh, Nyala. Yes, okay, Smiles, fair enough. The cubs are pretty irresistible. I also like the fact that everybody has a different favorite leopard, if you know what I mean. Different individual leopards speak to different individual people. Goodness. I think I'm going to regret this. I know this is a dead end, but I'm checking anyway. I still think Dave's answer is a brilliant one. The white tip to the tail. Checking up in the trees. Last time we saw Karula, she was... Oh, hello. She was dangling a baby Nyala, a dead baby Nyala, from this tambuerti tree. Oh, what a stunning picture that makes. Aren't you gorgeous, mister? A beautiful pair of male Nyala. I don't think they have a favorite thing about leopards, I have to be honest. I don't think we can include them in this question. Now that is a male Nyala in his prime. Horns fully grown, massively thick neck, powerful shoulders. Then you can see the tips of white at the tips of his horns, just starting to get their pale color. And the older he gets, the further that white tip will stretch down his horns. And the whole time we have been closely watched. While we've been watching the Nyala, we've found the tables have been turned. And if we look, now we have to try and show Dave where to look, and it's quite a tricky one. Okay, Dave, you see the straight tall tree at the base? Go about a foot down and to the right. Yeah, boy, keep going. I've lost it now. Yes, no, that is it. In the middle of the screen. Up a little. Ha ha! Got you. We've been watched closely by a little family of dwarf mongoose. I didn't even see the second one. I didn't even know the second one was there. The only reason I saw that one was because it moved. It just happened to be scanning around us while I was chatting about the Nyala. And there we go. A fearsome predator. It might not be a leopard, But we shouldn't dismiss it just because we don't get to spend the same amount of time with them. My favourite thing about a dwarf mongoose is their beady little eyes. They look at you with curiosity. These are little guys. Remember, if it's the start of the sunset safari, let's pretend that entire sentence was not all jumbled together as one and try it again. At the start of the sunset safari, talking about the fact that the martial eagle had terrorized an animal, it was these little ones. Not this particular family, not this particular group, but this animal. I also really like their... oh goodness, the word's gone straight out of my head. What do you call the black part of the eye? The pupil. Here we go. The shape of their pupils. They've got very peculiar looking, almost sideways rectangular pupils. But you have to get right up close and personal with them to see it. You can see they're already starting to gain confidence, even though this is a dwarf mongoose group that probably doesn't encounter people in vehicles. Oh! Dave, there's so many creatures. It just goes to show it's time to stop and sit and listen. There's a monkey here too. I don't know where it's gone. There was a monkey here. Yeah, you got him. There we go. Yes, I think you do. Well, there's one there. There's probably another one. No, that's a branch. Keep going, keep going. There's his tail. There we go. Well done, Dave. See? This is the place to be. Might not be where Karula is, but it's still a good spot. Okay, now that monkey's made life a little bit... it's not so bad. I wonder if this is the lone male that we've been seeing around the Mulwati recently. I didn't have a good chance to examine him or her to check that. Clinging on to the swaying branches. Imagine how motion sick you'd get. Blowing about in the wind like that. I suppose they're completely used to it. But look, I mean, look how much that monkey's moving. That whole tree is swaying. The monkey's moving about half a meter at a time. It's like being on a roller coaster. A really slow, very repetitive roller coaster. So not quite a roller coaster. A funfair ride. Also an animal that looks at you with bright, beady curiosity. I don't think it's the male. I think it's... I started talking about the fact that I'd seen a troop of monkeys in this area before. I think this is one of the individuals. So they would absolutely have told us whether or not Karula was here. Or if Karula was here. We would have heard that sharp... Clearly my monkey impression is not good enough to fool him. And as our monkey slides out of view, apart from one droopy tail, let's head back across to Tayla, who has got another sharp-eyed creature.
Can you believe it? It's only taken the zebra an hour and a half to move, and they're slowly getting closer to the dam. Finally, Mr. Stallion in front over there has decided, right, I think it's time for a drink, and we've got a huge gathering of different species of animals. We've already got Mr. One-Horned Impala with a troop of baboons, a troop of vervet monkeys in hot pursuit. There you can see them all coming down. Look at that. That's quite interesting to see that impala with one horn, and the zebras are on their way down too. Here's going to be a great opportunity. You see, remember I told you? I said that those lapwings are going to be cross. Look there. They are not happy with all those different animals coming through there and disturbing them. So that's going to be quite funny to see. Hopefully they try and chase some of the animals away. Come on, zebra. You got to come gallivanting down for us. We've been waiting for you the entire afternoon. This is what we call Africa time, everybody, where, you know, when you go to a dinner or something and it should start at 6:30 and your friend messages you and says, where are you, at 6:30, and you say, I'll be there now. Now could mean anywhere from 5 minutes away to 2 weeks away. So that's exactly what these zebra have done. They have done Africa time. Look how they've all formed in a line. That's incredible. It's like they're waiting their turn. Next customer, please. That's all I think of when I see these zebra like they're in a line at a shopping mall. That's so beautiful to see so many different animals. The monkeys jumping around, Mr. One-Horned Impala coming through to have a drink, who I'm sure is going to be disturbed by the zebra. Because once, no, not yet. Oh, zebra, come on. It's just going to take, you see the impala looking back, because one of the zebras actually leaped out of the way. Let's keep a close eye on these zebra, because it's going to be quite interesting to see them coming down. That's a very steep bank, and now they're going the other way. Come back.